students. We're going to take a look today at research and talk a little bit about using credible sources. So when we start research, we want to do research the Crone way. We want to work smarter, not harder. So there are 4 layers of source evaluation, or 4 steps in evaluating our sources. We kind of can use that metaphor of peeling away an onion. And when you peel away each layer, you continue to peel away each layer until you know it is worth using in your research. So you want to look at all 4 of the layers when you're evaluating a source. So evaluating general websites, you find using Google can take you some time. So the first thing we want to talk about is when you do use Google, what are some things that you're going to need to do in order to evaluate those websites that come up in your Google search? First of all, you're going to want to take a look at the domain name. You've got the edu.gov.org.com. So edu is going to be your higher institutions, your universities, .gov, your government-sponsored, .org, your non-commercial, and then .com is unrestricted. Anyone can make a .com site. The 4 steps that you will use in order to check whether or not a site that comes up is credible is you're first going to think about relevance, second about how current it is, third about credibility, and then fourth about reliability. So the first thing is relevance. Does the source have information related to your research question? So the first thing you're going to want to do is skim over the website to see if it's going to be able to answer the question that you have. Does it lead you to a related question? Is it good information that you need for your topic? So first thing you want to do is just skim and scan the article, see if it's going to be useful to you. Second thing you want to look at is how up to date is this information. You want to look on the website. Sometimes it's at the top of the page, sometimes it's at the bottom. Sometimes you can see where it's actually been modified or updated. So always check carefully to find the most current date and think about that information. How, is this information going to be good? Is it current information? Number 3 is that credibility. So that's where you want to think about the author, the sponsoring organization. You also want to think about that's where that domain name comes into play. Does this person have authority? Is this person an expert? So you can find that information usually in the About or About Us section on a website. You can look at who the person is, what's their education, what's the organization. So look at all of those things to try and determine the credibility of the website. And then lastly, how reliable is this website? Was it created in order to sell something, to entertain you, or is it to inform you? Most of the time when you're doing research, you're going to want to look for those websites that inform you. Does it represent, multiple sides, or is it biased? Sometimes does it seem tricky? Does it seem odd? You want to trust your instincts with this. So if you want to save time and you don't want to go through all those steps, what you can do is you can go to the LMC resources that are already evaluated for you. And that's what we recommend, or that's where we recommend that you start your research. So the student resources that are available to you through the LMC are the World Book Encyclopedia, SIRS database, Research in Context, which is also a database, and then the WebPath Express, which would be considered a tool, almost like Google. We want to avoid Google as our first step and take a look at these LMC research databases first, and then if we can't find anything, we'll go to Google as a last resort. So here's the Crone LMC webpage where you can find those student resources. Then there's links in here to the actual databases and online encyclopedia. On the right, you've got your research tools, your Noodle tools, and your WebPath Express. So databases, just so you know, a definition of that is they're articles that are recently published in books. And they're from magazines, newspapers, encyclopedias. They've been pre-approved by editors. They're good, they're true, and they're at your appropriate reading level. So they're not going to be too difficult for you to read and understand. Again, we want to avoid Wikipedia, and here's why. Anyone can add or change content on Wikipedia. Authors of articles may not be experts, and that leaves room for errors and misinformation and bias, and we want to stay away from that when we're doing our research. Even the founder, Jimmy Wales of Wikipedia, says it's pretty good, but you have to be careful with it. It's good enough knowledge depending on what your purpose is. So if you're doing a research paper, you probably want to stay away from Wikipedia. Here's a little comic. Got the cat editing your Wikipedia article. So if you don't really know anything about your topic and you want to start your research, we recommend that you go to the World Book, the online, the Crone LMC's World Book Online. There you can put in your topic and it'll give you just a brief amount of information of your topic, and then you can get more information from there, but it'll give you a little bit of background knowledge. So you can use the SIRS Discoverer database as well, and in here you want to make sure that you try different search terms in order to find the most information about your topic. So if you want to search by the most current, you can actually sort by date. So you can see there on that left-hand side, there's a sort by date, and it gives you newspapers, magazines, references. Then you can use research in the context database. And here again, you really want to be sure that you vary and widen your search terms when you're using this database to make sure you're finding the information you want or need. So a little information on electricity. Notice that it's in quotation marks. That way it very specifically looks into the electricity. And then if you look over there on the right-hand side, you've got your everything box, which indicates what some of the resources are going to be that you can check into. So finally, you've got your WebPath Express. And again, that's kind of like Google, only it's going to be a little bit narrower, considerably narrower, and the sites are all considered credible. So that gives you a little information on the Crone way for doing research. We want to always work smarter, not harder. Let's get started.